You know, whether he's launching rockets into orbit, totally shaking up social media, or jumping right into global politics, it feels like you can't go a single day without hearing his name. He is, without a doubt, a figure of immense power and, let's be honest, huge controversy. So let's dive into the man who's actively reshaping our world one wild venture at a time.
To even begin to get a handle on his influence, you really have to start with the scale of it all. As of April 2026, his estimated net worth is just a staggering $809 billion. That makes him the wealthiest person on the entire planet. But just think about what that really means for a second. It's not just cash, right? It's the fuel for some of the most ambitious, some might even say craziest projects in human history.
And this is the empire that all that wealth has built. I mean, just look at this portfolio. It's incredible. We're talking about leading the charge on electric cars with Tesla, aiming for Mars with SpaceX, pushing the absolute frontiers of AI with XAI, and even trying to merge the human brain with computers at Neuralink. Honestly, this list of companies reads less like a resume and more like a blueprint for the future.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, we're going to break this explainer down into a few parts. First up, we'll look at Act 1, the visionary entrepreneur, the guy who built this empire from the ground up. Then we'll get into Act 2, the political disruptor that he's become. And finally, we're going to try to unpack his very, very complicated legacy.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Because before all the political firestorms and the constant global headlines, Musk was known first and foremost as a builder, a guy whose ambition, it seemed, had no ceiling at all. Now, what's really fascinating when you look at this timeline is just the relentless pace and how the ambition just keeps escalating. I mean, he starts with an internet city guide in the 90s, then completely changes the game for online payments with what became PayPal. Now, after selling that, most people would just retire to an island somewhere. Not him. He pours $100 million of his own money into starting a rocket company, SpaceX, and at the same time takes the lead at this little electric car startup called Tesla. Every single step was a bigger, crazier bet on the future.
And here's the absolutely crucial part. These weren't just businesses. They were framed as missions, as crusades. Just look at these mission statements. SpaceX wasn't just about launching stuff. Its stated goal was to make humanity a multiplanetary species to ensure our very survival. And Tesla wasn't just about selling cool cars, it was about dragging the entire auto industry into a sustainable electric future. This genius for framing his business ventures as world-saving missions is absolutely central to his success and his whole mythos. And then, everything changed. After building this whole empire on the hard sciences, engineering, physics, Musk pivoted. He turned his attention, his money, and his unique style toward the much messier worlds of media and politics. This is Act 2, and it all kicks off with one of the most consequential acquisitions in modern history.
It all started with this incredibly simple tweet. Just 4 words that launched a hostile takeover of Twitter, a platform he called the world's de facto public town square. And in his view, it was a town square that was fundamentally broken, one that was failing its commitment to what he called true free speech.
The change was immediate, and it was dramatic. He rebranded it as X and basically started dismantling the old systems. His push for free speech absolutism meant rolling back years of content moderation policies. And that iconic blue checkmark, the one that used to be for verified public figures, well, it was suddenly up for grabs to anyone willing to pay a monthly fee. And the result, according to a ton of reports, was a pretty significant spike in hate speech and misinformation on the platform.
The X acquisition really signaled a pretty stark political evolution for him. You can see the shift laid out right here. For years, Musk played both sides. He was a bipartisan donor, supporting figures from Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton. But starting around 2022, that all changed. He began almost exclusively backing Republican candidates, and it all culminated in a full-throated endorsement of Donald Trump, making him the single largest individual donor of the 2024 election cycle.
This new political alignment put him right at the center of some incredibly charged moments. At Donald Trump's second inauguration, he made this gesture. He thumped his chest and then extended his arm that just ignited a global firestorm. In places like Germany, where gestures like that are illegal, it was immediately condemned as a Nazi-style salute. In the US, some Jewish organizations also condemned it, but the Anti-Defamation League stated it was not a Nazi salute, and public opinion just fractured, mostly along party lines.
Pretty soon, his influence moved directly into the government itself. He was appointed the de facto head of the new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and he laid out this really radical mission: slash the federal budget, consolidate agencies, and in what is a very Musk-like final stage, have the department completely eliminate itself. It was his classic disruptor playbook, just applied directly to the federal government.
But that alliance with the Trump administration, it was short-lived. And wow, did it end spectacularly. After he left his government role, a very public feud erupted, which peaked with this absolutely incendiary, since-deleted tweet. In it, Musk flat-out alleged that Trump had ties to Jeffrey Epstein. It was a shocking accusation that just showcased the sheer intensity and unpredictability of his new role as a political fighter.
So, all of this brings us to Act 3, the complicated legacy. How do we even begin to synthesize these two different versions of Elon Musk? The visionary builder on one hand, and the political provocateur on the other. Well, this final act is really about the controversies that defy any simple definition of the man.
And that brings us, pretty ironically, to the Epstein files. You see, after Musk used them as a weapon against Trump, it turned out his own name was in them. Newly released documents in 2026 showed email correspondence between Musk and Jeffrey Epstein from back in 2012 and 2013, which, by the way, was after Epstein's first conviction for sex crimes.
The emails showed this surprisingly casual, cordial tone. In this one, which was sent on Christmas Day of all days, Musk writes to Epstein that he's been working to the edge of sanity and says he wants to hit the party scene and let loose, and then asks if Epstein had any parties planned.
And this one here really illustrates the kind of debate that followed. When Epstein mentioned that the ratio on my island might make Musk's then-wife, Tallulah Riley, uncomfortable, Musk replied, quote, "Ratio is not a problem for Tallulah." Now that exchange, along with others, became a huge subject of intense worldwide discussion. For his part, Musk has always maintained he had no close relationship with Epstein and only met him briefly.
So you see, this duality, it really defines his entire public life. On one side of the ledger, you've got all the incredible accolades. Times Person of the Year, a Fellow of the Royal Society, celebrated for his world-changing innovations. And then on the other side, there's just a constant stream of controversy. Accusations of spreading misinformation, battles with regulators like the SEC, and this reputation for making polarizing and frankly erratic public statements.
So what is he, really? When you boil it all down, is he primarily an innovator? A guy pushing humanity forward with technology? Is he a disruptor, shaking up stagnant industries and political systems for the better? Or is he a provocateur, someone who just uses his immense platform to sow chaos for his own reasons? You know, the truth is, the answer probably has a little bit of all three.
And that leaves us with one final, much bigger question. Because this isn't just about one company or one man anymore. When a single individual can hold this much power over our technology, our information, and even our governments, the real question isn't just who is Elon Musk, it's what does his story mean for the rest of us?